Kris, let's start with the good news for taxpayers, which involves an income tax cut by the federal government.
Yeah, it's always a good thing to have a tax cut, and Prime Minister Mark Carney has delivered on one of his election promises. He is reducing our federal income taxes. The average taxpayer will save around $180, closing in on $200 this coming year, thanks to this income tax cut.
Now, the bad news is that payroll taxes will be going up next year. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, unfortunately, while we're all happy to see an income tax cut, it's going to be largely eaten up and gone by a payroll tax increase. So payroll taxes are those mandatory deductions, things like CPP, EI, all that stuff that come off of your paycheck. And again, the federal government calls them payroll taxes. You cannot opt out of them, and they're going up. For the average worker, it's going to cost them a little more than $200 extra in the coming year. So that largely cancels out the average income tax cut. We'll also remind folks that employers, so the people who actually sign your paychecks, employers also pay these payroll tax increases. So on average, an employer is going to be paying a big chunk extra next year as well.
Now, Kris, many Canadians were celebrating when the Carney government cut the consumer carbon tax to zero. But the bad news is the industrial carbon tax, which impacts many of us, is going up shortly.
Yes, it is. So again, the good news is we don't have the consumer carbon tax. That's why it's about 20 cents cheaper per liter of gasoline across Canada now than it was at this time last year. So that's good. The bad news is there's this hidden industrial carbon tax on our businesses, and it is going up January 1st. So we don't know yet how much this is going to cost the average person, but we do know that it is going to increase our costs. We've got economists like Jack Mintz who are saying this is going to cost us more. We've got fuel experts like Dan McTagg saying this is going to cost us more. And here in Alberta, for example, Prime Minister Mark Carney said his increase is going to be 6 times higher. It's going to make Alberta's industrial carbon tax 6 times higher. January 1. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on how much this is adding to our cost at the pump, our heating bills, and our utility bills.
Now, speaking of tax hikes, alcohol taxes are also going up in 2026. By how much?
It's actually going to cost Canadian consumers around $40 million extra with an M this coming year, based on this one increase to alcohol taxes. Now, per person, that works out to, say, a few cents per, a pack of beer or bottles of wine or bottles of spirits. But it's the principle of the issue here, which is a huge bother. How these tax increases happen automatically. They're attached to an escalator. They just go on up year after year forever without any vote in Parliament. This is deeply undemocratic. And so that's why the Taxpayers Federation has been fighting this for years. Also, as a reminder, about half the cost of your alcohol is already taxes. About half the cost of your beer, your wine, your spirits, it's already various levels of taxes from various levels of government. But it's going up again anyway.
Kris Sims, Alberta Director with the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.